live at the White House.
The Justice Department confirming that the U.S. has seized a North Korean shipping vessel that was violating American law and international sanctions. The president earlier reacting to 2 North Korean weapons tests conducted in the past 24 hours.
Well, we're looking at it very seriously right now. They were smaller missiles, short-range missiles. Nobody's happy about it.
The missile test took place a little over a month before the first anniversary of President Trump's historic meeting with Kim Jong-un in Singapore. The president saying his relationship with Kim continues, but acknowledged he doesn't think he's ready to negotiate. Lisa?
Well, John, minutes after North Korea's latest short-range tests, the U.S. fired its own long-range missile, and defense officials are telling Fox News another test is planned from a submarine, but that the timing is a coincidence because launches are planned months in advance. Also, discussing the rising tensions with Iran, President Trump takes aim at a former Secretary of State.
What I'd like to see with Iran, I'd like to see them call me. John Kerry speaks to them a lot. John Kerry tells them not to call. That's a violation of the Logan Act,
which in essence makes unauthorized negotiations a crime. A spokesman for Kerry says the president is wrong about the facts, adding they hope the president would focus on solving foreign policy problems instead of attacking his predecessors for theater. More than 100 hate crime charges just announced against the 19-year-old accused of opening fire at a Southern California synagogue last month on the last day of Passover. One woman was killed, a rabbi and his 8-year-old niece among the injured in Poway. The suspect, John Earnest, has already pleaded not guilty to state charges of murder and attempted murder. He's also charged in the burning of a mosque in nearby Escondido. This is Fox News.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get a free bottle of Limitless, call 800-605-1708, 800-605-1708. Free bottles for a limited time. Call now, 800-605-1708, 800-605-1708.
Amounts to a cooling off period for state lawmakers in Alabama after a fight breaks out over an abortion bill.
Alabama's state senators were debating and preparing to vote on a bill making it a felony for a physician to perform abortions. The supposed crime would incur a 99-year prison sentence for the doctor who performs pregnancy terminations, and even attempting the procedure would send the physician to prison for a decade. But fights erupted when some Republicans tried to strip the bill of protecting abortion in cases of rape. The shouting matches in the Alabama Senate chamber grew so heated, the Senate pro tem decided to cut the session short and send all the senators home until next week. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Parts of the central U.S. and Midwest still under a flood threat because of flood waters heading down the Mississippi River. The Army Corps of Engineers is now asking to open a historic flood control structure above New Orleans for an unprecedented second time in 1 year. A delegation from China, including the vice premier, arrives in Washington for trade talks under increasing pressure after a setback and a threat from President Trump of higher tariffs, now set to kick in tonight.
Last time the vice premier visited Washington, he was all smiles. He even gave a rare show of emotion indicating how well the talks were going. Now, fast forward a few weeks and the U.S. trade representative is describing the Chinese reneging on concessions they'd already agreed upon. Now, from the U.S. side, the only way to pause the tariff increase at 12:01 on Friday is for the Chinese to put back all the concessions that have already been agreed upon.
Fox Business Network's Edward Lawrence, an hour to the close on Wall Street. Nerves largely blamed on the trade talks. The Dow's down 192 points, but it had been down over 300 points earlier. Right now, right around 25,776. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The co-ed state qualifying district track meet scheduled for today at Dodger Stadium has been postponed to tomorrow, May 10th, with a 4 p.m. start time. Des Moines was under a community safety alert this morning, as Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
Des Moines police issued the alert after a mountain lion was spotted well within the capital city limits in a residential area near Interstate 235 and 31st Street. There's a middle school within a block of that intersection, and an elementary school is just beyond. The big cat was captured on video, prowling past a home's front steps and sniffing at a recycling bin. Police urge extreme caution, especially with children and pets. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed a measure into law that gives her greater control over the way judges are selected and weakening the influence of attorneys. Language making the change was inserted into a larger funding bill approved on the last day of the legislative session. Reynolds signed it Wednesday with no fanfare, announcing her approval in an email that also noted 4 other bills. She says she's proud to sign it to give all Iowans a greater voice in the process. The majority of the 17-member state judge nominating commission members will now be picked by the governor. She'll choose 9, while Lyers will choose 8. The commission nominates finalists for the Iowa Supreme Court and the Iowa Court of Appeals and submits them to the governor, who makes the final choice. Democrats accused Republicans of trying to stack the courts in their favor after losing cases involving abortion and same-sex marriage. Iowa's among at least 4 states where Republican lawmakers moved to lessen the role of attorneys on judicial nominating panels. Despite international trade tariffs and a series of other challenges, Iowa livestock producers are seeing hog prices rise in recent weeks, which comes as a welcome surprise to many. Lee Schultz, an ag economist with the Iowa State University Extension, explains the roller coastering of pork prices on the commodities market.
I think what was driving, lower prices in the early parts of 2019 was impacts of retaliatory tariffs and impacts on the trade that we expected. And then really through late March and April, we really seen the impact of ASF situation in China.
That's African swine fever, which is reportedly spread to every region of China and several surrounding countries, dropping the hog population in China by nearly 40 million head compared to last year. Schultz says U.S. pork producers are also seeing the potential for significant growth in global protein demand.
Recently, I think it has been really the markets, the supply situation weighing on it a bit, as well as, now new news of, kind of delayed in the trade negotiation talks, I think have all been working on the market and why we've seen such volatility lately.
Now that we're well into spring and the warmer weather will soon bring us to summer grilling season, Schultz says we are entering a key period of demand for pork, which should keep prices higher.
Now we have really 3 big holidays in front of us with Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and Father's Day. And so while a lot of purchases have already been made for Mother's Day, we're looking still at several holidays in front of us, and demand is very strong.
Schultz says profitability levels are higher for the pork producer than what had been seen for the last few years, and he remains optimistic for the last remaining months of 2019 and into 2020. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy this afternoon with a high of 50. Winds out of the north, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, 39. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 62. Mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. Chance for scattered storms Saturday. Chance for scattered rain showers Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 46.
Wouldn't it be great to see your windows in a whole new light? Do it right. Call your local neighborhood experts. Budget Blinds. You'll get beautiful style and personalized service for every budget. We bring the showroom right to your home, so you can choose from hundreds of blinds, shades, shutters, and drapes, plus smart home window coverings you control with the touch of a button. And with Budget Blinds, we do it all for you. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. There's a reason why Budget Blinds is the #1 provider of custom window coverings in North America. When we say we have style and service for every budget, we really mean it. So let's get your home a whole lot of gorgeous. Get your free consultation right at home. Just go online to budgetblinds.com or call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS for your free consultation right at home. Now that's beautiful. At participating independently owned and operated franchises only. Ask for details.
Blue Ribbon, Pelham Waters, your water pro since 1949.
Do you have questions about your water? What is a whole home filter? Is my softener working or not? Can I get rid of that red stain around the sink? I'm Brian with Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters. We're here to fix problem water. We'll work with you to find the right solution for you. We've been serving the Fort Dodge area since 1949. Let us serve your water treatment needs. Sales, service, rentals. Blue Ribbon Pelham Waters, your complete water store.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Well, that's right. You can't handle the truth. Don't listen to this radio station because, after all, I'm the Doctor of Truth. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm pleased to welcome to the program Carissa Harvey and Lydia Schur. How are you today, both of you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having
And
us.
I would like to announce I'm the only one in the room who's not knocked up.
Yeah.
Did I just say knocked up? That's so implied. I beg your pardon. Who is not pregnant, and it's wonderful new life. I'm somebody who loves babies, loves pregnant women, and I think that's wonderful. You're having children very soon. That's just terrific. New life in the world. That's fantastic. How many? You have a little something extra here, Carissa.
Yeah, I've got 2 coming.
Twins.
Yeah.
Twins. That's wonderful.
It'll be an interesting summer.
But you are about to get busy.
Yes.
You're getting
As
real
if
busy.
We aren't already.
No, yeah. How many children do you have now?
I have 1 son.
One son.
Yep.
Okay. And do we know the gender of the twins or not?
We do not. We
We do
didn't
not.
find out. So it'll be a surprise for everybody.
You're not going to find out,
No.
or okay. Well,
No.
that's a good way to do
Some
it.
people call us crazy.
Well, I don't know why they call you that. It's always nice to find out on the day of birth.
Yeah. It'll be
How about
fun.
you,
It's a cool
Lydia?
surprise.
Did you decide to find out the gender of your child?
Yeah, I did. I told
Okay.
Chris I would love to be a person that doesn't need to know, but I need to know.
You broke down, huh?
Yeah.
So what's your?
So we're having a girl.
You're having a girl.
Yes.
So you're going to have 2 girls and a
2
boy.
girls and a boy.
Well, you know what you have to do now.
What's that?
You have to balance things out.
Oh no. This is it. We
Yeah,
know
come
for
on,
sure.
Come
We
on.
know.
3's just not the right number.
It feels
You need-
right to me. I gotta
4 is
say.
an even number. 2 boys, 2 girls.
I know I do like even numbers, but I think 3 is
Yeah,
good.
well, congratulations.
Thank
Really
you.
sincere congratulations.
Thank you.
I apologize again for my ballroom or barroom vulgarity. It's just kind of part of who I am.
You're all right.
I'm happy to hear that Market on Central is coming our way. When's the first Market on Central?
It'll be June 13th.
June 13th.
Yes, that's a Thursday evening. 4:30 till 7:30.
4:30 till 7:30.
Yes.
Now we're doing a little bit different here. Is we only have 3 Market on Centrals all year.
Right.
Okay.
Yep, we're trying something different this year.
So will it be in June, July, and August?
That is
or-
correct.
Okay.
Yep. The July one is July 20th, which is a Saturday. So that's going to be 8:30 till 12:30. And then August, that is August 8th, and that is another evening on a Thursday, 4:30 to 7:30.
Okay. All right. And what's the first one look like? You've had some great entertainment down there in the corner.
Yes.
I really like that.
Yeah, we're still partnering with the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association.
Okay.
They've helped us to line up all of our entertainment for each of the 3 markets. And so we'll have live entertainment, but then we're also, we have a little bit of different of a focus this year. Years past, we've always focused on this being a farmer's market, your produce, your artisans, your creators.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
But this year, we'd really like to focus on that artisan piece, which is where the Fort Dodge Fine Arts Association,
Say that again, please.
the artisan piece.
Artisan
So we are
piece.
focusing on trying to find some vendors that are creators, do-it-yourselfers.
Yeah, or they repurpose things.
Yep.
Just something kind of new and different that we might not have had in previous years.
A few years ago, I believe he was an American Indian man from Minneapolis. He came down. I think he kind of ran the circuit, and he built flutes and whistles and things.
Yeah.
And he sat under his tent and played them.
Yeah.
And man, if I could have played like he could have, I would have bought a couple of them because,
Wow.
and he kept saying, well, it's not so, it's more, you just have to learn how to control your breathing a little bit and how you constrict your throat to make higher and lower sounds. I wound up not getting one, but I thought that was I sat there and listened to him for quite some time. He was a rather interesting guy.
Yeah, getting some of those things really provides a unique draw to the market.
It did.
And that's what we're hoping to really expand on that.
It's the only time I saw him, so maybe he didn't have a good business day here, but he certainly had an interesting product, and he was out there trying to sell it too. So good for him.
Mhm.
There's another guy from Humboldt who had those he had an idea. He had the old mailboxes, at the post office, the little, and he turned them into banks.
Mhm.
Yeah, I don't know if he was around a couple of years, but maybe he ran out of mailboxes. I don't
Yeah.
know. But that was a great idea. That was a real good idea.
Well, that's exactly what it's about. Just seeing what can be created and how it can be done, and coming down for not only the looking at what the vendors have, but also the food, the entertainment, the atmosphere. We're just trying to really build a unique experience for downtown Fort Dodge.
All right, you're helping with this too, Lydia?
Yes, it's one of my job duties at the Growth Alliance.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Yep.
Plots gets to go to Des Moines and hang out all day. And you guys up here
I
to
get
do
to
the
come
work.
here.
Huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that sounds like good news. I know especially with the music in the air down there, it's been very, very nice. Yeah, I think you even had a caricature artist there one year.
Yep.
And I had him draw me, and I just disagreed with his portrait of me, but he could do it pretty fast, or maybe it was a woman. I can't remember who it was. Anyway, so the first one is June 13th. This is a Thursday night.
Correct.
Thursday night, and it's 3 hours long.
Mhm.
Okay, all right.
Yep.
And we'll have the food and the whole thing out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Food, entertainment, and fun.
Last year at Old Boston, I think they still had their little donuts. The little
In the
donut balls.
evenings?
Yeah, I think they did.
Nice.
I can't remember for sure, but they did that for breakfast when we had it in the morning.
Yep.
And I know he's doing that again this year, and their burritos.
What's
on
that
Saturday.
now?
Old Boston's is doing their donuts and burritos for the Saturday for sure,
Okay.
because that's their breakfast burritos.
So we have June 13th, which is a Thursday night.
Yes.
When is it in July?
July 20th.
July 20th. And is that on Thursday?
That is a Saturday morning.
That's a Saturday morning.
Yes.
The 20th of July, Saturday morning.
Yes.
And then the last one is in August, what?
August 8th.
And that's in the evening
Yes,
as well.
that's back to a Thursday night.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Will each of these Market on Centrals have a different theme, or will they all be, as you say, trying to get some artistry into Market on Central?
We may have some themes that we focus on within each of the markets. We've done some in the past, depending on what's happening on the weekend. But we'll also have our sponsors. So sometimes we'll have certain demonstrations or other things that tie to that market near the host booth, and our sponsors, which we continue to seek sponsors for the event. They'll also be down there sharing about what they provide.
Okay.
So, yeah, we'll see about the themes. We haven't come up with some specific ones yet,
Right,
but we've
yeah.
talked about.
It's been talked about at meetings. and-
Yeah.
yeah.
You two talk a lot, don't you?
Oh,
Because of your job?
can you tell?
Yes. Well, I just wondered if you had a conversation. Hey, I know.
I think we're the quieter ones of most people in our position.
What do you think?
Yeah,
let's get
Yeah.
let's get pregnant. What do you think?
Yeah.
You didn't do that. Okay. All right. Also, we're going to talk about the 14th annual FOD Walk, FOD Walk. That's June 11th at 4 p.m. What's the FOD Walk?
Yes, that is a walk downtown to help clean up litter in the area. And it's 2 days prior to the first market. So just kind of help clean everything up downtown. Teams can get together, whether you are from a business in town or your friends or a church.
Mhm.
You can contact me at the Growth Alliance and let me know how many people you'll be bringing with you. And then everyone will get bags and gloves and vests, and we'll help pick up downtown and collect all the trash and throw it away.
Yeah, this is a good idea.
Yeah.
It is. Boy, we had a rough winter. I don't know. There's trash all over town.
There
As a
is,
matter
yeah.
of fact, I would suggest that we go up to 4th Avenue North here and walk a couple of blocks there in front of my house, for example. 'Cause I noticed there was a McDonald's wrapper out in the street this morning. I don't know.
Yeah, it kind of just finds its way everywhere.
It does. It
Yeah.
really does. And I don't know what the answer is to that. Anyway, if you'd like to get a team together or anything like that, it's 955-5500, and that's Lydia Schur at the Growth Alliance. Team up to clean up, which is a good slogan.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll take pride in our community. Pride in our community, PICA, they do such a great job.
They
down
really
there.
do.
And it would be a shame to see their efforts diminished by a McDonald's wrapper.
I agree with you. I can't keep a plant alive very well. So I love to watch them because they're so knowledgeable and I'm not in that area.
Over there by Splash Graphics, they did that little area there. It's just really terrific. And down at the Fort Dodge Public Library area, they were working.
Yeah.
They were mostly retired people, and they were really on the job.
Yeah.
And they've done a great job. Jan and Phyllis Wilson are terrific people.
Yeah.
And it's too bad we don't have even more of them in our community. I think Jan and Phyllis and Pica in general have received statewide and nationwide recognition.
I agree. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
And they should, but they don't. Really, it's a labor of love for them, and I really have a lot of admiration for them. So
I agree.
If you would like to do something similar, ladies and gentlemen, the 14th annual Fod Walk is June 11th, 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Volunteers will meet at a public lot east of the Growth Alliance building for a downtown cleanup. Garbage bags and gloves will be provided. If you would like to organize a team of volunteers, please contact Lydia Schur again at 515-955-5500. And by the way, the Growth Alliance is at 24 North 9th, if you didn't know. Anyway, so there we are. What else are we talking about here, Carissa?
Well, like we said, we hope that everybody joins us for Market on Central. This year we're presenting Avenue of the Artisans. So we're really
Avenue of the
focused.
Artisans.
I don't think we
didn't talk about that earlier. No,
we missed that key phrase.
I know. That's what I was like. I got to get that in here.
Say it again, loud and proud.
Avenue of Artisans.
Our Avenue of Artisans. That's very catchy.
Since it's along Central Avenue, and we're focusing on the those creators, those craftsmen, those artists. So we're just really excited about that, and we really want people to think about being a vendor. Well, there's a lot of people out there, I'm sure, that just kind of doodle around making some of those cool signs or artwork or photography. Bring it down, get a booth, and
there's a lot of artists in the area.
Yes. Definitely. It's the cost is $30 per market to have a table.
Okay, well that's not bad.
No,
and that's a decrease from previous years.
I was going to say a big decrease. I think.
Yeah. Yep. We're just trying to open it up.
The library's done a pretty good thing, and I haven't had a chance to take part in it as much as I would like, but they have a writers program down there. And
cool.
Really. And I went a couple of times and the room was full that we were in. I suppose there were 25 people there,
That's really cool.
And all of them had a different way of expressing themselves, and different interests when it came to writing. And I don't know how that could be worked into. Give it to us. Give us the slogan again, Carissa.
Avenue of Artisans.
Avenue of Artisans, but certainly literature and local literature would have a place there if we could just figure out how to do it.
Yes, absolutely. Definitely.
I don't know if sell some short stories. I don't know, but I wish it were possible in some way.
Yeah.
Or put your poem or whatever it is that you're making on a sign.
Yeah.
There you have a product.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a lot of painters and sculptors out there. And, which was it? Mike Crimmins was down there for a while. He's a welder, and he had artistic lawn work out there. I don't know if he's still doing Market on Central or not, but he had some interesting things down there. I know.
Yeah, we have had some welders in the past. Like you said, we've had people that make something out of repurposed products.
Yeah.
So
that's what he seemed to be doing.
He
scrap metal, and he'd put together these really cool lawn ornaments.
Yeah. Have we gotten any of those yet?
No welders yet.
Not
so we'll take them.
Okay. All right. So two things. First of all, Market on Central. First one is June 13th. So check that out, and we'll keep up on what's happening with Market on Central as we go along. And the second thing, the 14th annual Fod Walk is coming up June 11th. And that'll be at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Please join the Growth Alliance and, a lot of people as we clean up the litter around town while sending the message that we take pride in our community and want it to be litter free. And I think that's important to send that message. Some out of town people seem to have the idea that we like living in junk or something, and we certainly do not. So this would be a good thing. Volunteers will meet at the public lot east of the Growth Alliance building for a downtown cleanup. Garbage bags and gloves will be provided. If you would like to organize a team of volunteers, please contact Lydia Schur, who's going to be a mom again, at 515-955-5500. And, of course, the Growth Alliance is at 24 North 9th Street, Suite A, right here in Fort Dodge. Congratulations again on your expanding family, and you and your husbands will have beautiful new children. That's just terrific.
Thank you.
That's just terrific.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we'll have some ball players in this group.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah.
You never. Carissa Harvey and Lydia Schur have been our guests. This is the time of week where we talk with someone from the Growth Alliance. So thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Keeping the crop healthy. Hello, I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Arista Life Science. The tough start to the spring planting season can put added pressure on the crop, specifically increasing the chance of disease issues. In this Managing for Profit, Johnny J with Arista Life Science talks about the best options growers have to controlling diseases. We'll find out more on Brownfield right after this.
Good morning, Uglyville!
Every ugly doll is unique.
I'm Moxie.
Bobo.
Wade.
Those close to me call me Slick Dog.
Which is not his name.
And every child is too.
He can be pretty lovable.
That's why when you travel, you should make sure your child is in the right seat for their age and size.
That sounds pretty great to me.
Keep them safe by visiting nhtsa.gov/the right seat.
Isn't that right, gibberish cat?
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Did you know 22 Americans die each day waiting for organ transplants, most of them for kidneys? The good news is that MatchingDonors.com is helping to change that. MatchingDonors.com is a 501c3 nonprofit organization that links organ donors with people in desperate need of kidneys and other transplants. And now you don't need to donate a kidney to save a life. You can donate your boat, car, or real estate, with 100% of the proceeds going to help save the lives of people needing organ transplants. Visit MatchingDonors.com or call 800-385-0422.
With the challenging start to this year's planting and growing season, an agronomist says farmers need to be on the lookout for disease issues. Johnny J covers parts of Indiana, Ohio, and Michigan.
Last year, as far as white mold goes, we had it in pockets. And if you had it, you definitely know who you are. Anywhere pretty well north of I-70, you could find it. And then as you go into Michigan and Ohio as well, and even parts of southern Ohio, we saw some pockets of white mold. So what it looks like if you had it last year, it's kind of shaping up this year. We may be seeing it as well. And there are some things we can be doing to help mitigate that.
He tells Brownfield conditions around flowering are what matter most.
Infection is favored really by a dense canopy with cool and wet weather at that timing. So if you're looking at about 68 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit during R1 or first flowering, and it's cool and wet, then we're probably going to see white mold.
Jay says there are some cultural practices farmers can implement.
Crop rotation is really pretty important in that, and residue management, and also planting with wider rows. So in order to get that sunlight in there to help drive some of the diseases, wider rows, 15 inches and wider in soybeans, we've seen some benefit as far as white mold goes. And then the fungicide piece as well. So using products like Zalera FX at R1, we've seen up to 7 bushel increase in some replicated trials that have inoculated soybeans with white mold. You've got to pair some cultural practices with some products like Zalera FX, and that's where we're seeing a good yield benefit there.
And he says farmers need to start treating diseases like they're treating weeds.
As far as using overlapping residuals and multiple products, we're seeing more resistant diseases out there than ever. So pairing products like Tapera Plus and Faro early on in the year gives you some residual and some flexibility to put on a foliar fungicide like Fortix at V5 or Zalera FX at VT on corns. Pairing fungicides and using multiple residuals and overlapping residuals, kind of like what we're doing with weeds and herbicides right now, I would say is one important thing we could be doing to help mitigate that.
I'm Megan Grebner, and this is Managing for Profit on Brownfield, a content partnership with Arista Life Science.
First State Bank, first for you.
Get cozy with a money market account from First State Bank. With the Investor's Choice Money Market account, you earn more interest than with a regular savings account, and you still have access to your money. Not only that, our rates are among the best around. Learn about this product and more by visiting our website, fsbwc.com. First State Bank, first for you. Member FDIC.
First State Bank, first for you.
Thrifty White Community Health Corner. May is High Blood Pressure Education Month. Having high blood pressure increases your risk for a heart attack, stroke, or kidney disease. Taking steps toward a healthier lifestyle can reduce your risk and blood pressure. Control or lower your blood pressure by adding to or increasing your physical activity. Aim for 2.5 hours a week. That's only 30 minutes a day. Choose activities that get your heart pumping and get you to break a sweat. Visit your local Thrifty White pharmacist to learn more.
Victory Motors in Fort Dodge is looking for an automotive tech to join their fast-paced work environment. Ideal applicants would have an excellent work ethic, be safety conscious, and have their own tools. An automotive tech degree or a 2 ASE certifications minimum and at least 4 years on the job experience is required. Competitive hourly pay with 2 weeks paid vacation to start. Stop working on flag hours and start taking home a consistent paycheck every week. Apply in person at Victory Motors on 169 South Fort Dodge. Victory Motors is an equal opportunity employer.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The co-ed state qualifying district track meet scheduled for today at Dodger Stadium has been postponed to tomorrow, May 10th, with a 4 p.m. start time. Des Moines was under a community safety alert this morning, as Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
Des Moines police issued the alert after a mountain lion was spotted well within the capital city limits in a residential area near Interstate 235 and 31st Street. There's a middle school within a block of that intersection, and an elementary school is just beyond. The big cat was captured on video, prowling past a home's front steps and sniffing at a recycling bin. Police urge extreme caution, especially with children and pets. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed a measure into law that gives her greater control over the way judges are selected and weakening the influence of attorneys. Language making the change was inserted into a larger funding bill approved on the last day of the legislative session. Reynolds signed it Wednesday with no fanfare, announcing her approval in an email that also noted 4 other bills. She says she's proud to sign it to give all Iowans a greater voice in the process. The majority of the 17-member state judge nominating commission members will now be picked by the governor. She'll choose 9, while liars will choose 8. The commission nominates finalists for the Iowa Supreme Court and the Iowa Court of Appeals and submits them to the governor, who makes the final choice. Democrats accused Republicans of trying to stack the courts in their favor after losing cases involving abortion and same-sex marriage. Iowa's among at least 4 states where Republican lawmakers moved to lessen the role of attorneys on judicial nominating panels. Despite international trade tariffs and a series of other challenges, Iowa livestock producers are seeing hog prices rise in recent weeks, which comes as a welcome surprise to many. Lee Schultz, an ag economist with the Iowa State University Extension, explains the roller coastering of pork prices on the commodities market.
I think what was driving, lower prices in the early parts of 2019 was impacts of retaliatory tariffs and impacts on the trade that we expected. And then really through late March and April, we really seen the impact of ASF situation in China.
That's African swine fever, which has reportedly spread to every region of China and several surrounding countries, dropping the hog population in China by nearly 40 million head compared to last year. Schultz says U.S. pork producers are also seeing the potential for significant growth in global protein demand.
Recently, I think it has been really the markets, the supply situation weighing on it a bit, as well as, now new news of, kind of delayed in the trade negotiation talks, I think have all been working on the market and why we've seen such volatility lately.
Now that we're well into spring and the warmer weather will soon bring us to summer grilling season, Schultz says we are entering a key period of demand for pork, which should keep prices higher.
Now we have really 3 big holidays in front of us with Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and Father's Day. And so while a lot of purchases have already been made for Mother's Day, we're looking still at several holidays in front of us, and demand is very strong.
Schultz says profitability levels are higher for the pork producer than what had been seen for the last few years, and he remains optimistic for the last remaining months of 2019 and into 2020. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's a look at how the markets closed today. May corn down 10 3/4 at 344.5. July down 11 cents at 353 1/4. September down 10 1/4 at 362, and December corn down 9 1/2 to 372 3/4. May soybeans closed down 14 cents at $8 1/4. July down 14 1/2 to 812 3/4. August down 14 at 819 1/2, and November beans down 14 3/4 to 835 3/4. May wheat closed down 9 1/2 at 421 3/4. Soybean meal down 340 a ton at 285.30. June live cattle up 87 cents at 111.95. August up 20 at 107.60. May feeder cattle up 47 cents at 136 1/4. August up 60 to 144.47. May lean hogs up 17 to 83.75. June up 145 to $90 even. I'm Dwayne Murley.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. First of all, in the weather, cloudy with a high only of 47 today. Going to be windy. What a surprise. Overnight cloudy, then becoming partly cloudy toward morning with a low of 39. Tomorrow, sunny with a high of 62. On Saturday, a slight chance of rain. Otherwise, sunny with a high of 66. Sunday, a chance of rain, mostly sunny with a high of 64. And on Monday, it'll be sunny with a high of 70. Tuesday, sunny with a high of 76, and on Wednesday, it'll be sunny with a high of 71. Right now in town, 43 degrees at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Larry Kloss has died. Larry Kloss has passed away. Services for Larry Kloss can be found at the Gunderson Funeral Home website. Obituaries this hour brought to you by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. 237 at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. 43 degrees. David Osterberg at the Iowa Policy Project coming up.
Sounds like you've got the crud. Cough, fever, sinus pressure, body aches. What should you take? Which over-the-counter medicine is best? You sure don't know, but the people at Daniel Pharmacy do. The pharmacists and technicians at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to help. They drop what they're doing, ask you what you're looking for, go down the aisle with you, and help you find the best medication for your symptoms. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years at 1114 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
Even in my own home, I had my own designated space to smoke. If I think about it, it really was like I was punishing myself. A friend of mine said, why wouldn't you just try the Juul? And so I went out and I bought one. The idea of going back to smoking, I couldn't even imagine doing that. I don't think anyone, including myself, thought that I could switch.
Carolyn made the switch October 2016. Make the switch at JUUL.com. Warning, this product contains nicotine. Nicotine is an addictive chemical.
In today's economy, it just makes sense to plan ahead. At Historic Bruce Funeral Home, pre-planning your funeral arrangements can save you money. By planning ahead, you can secure your arrangements at today's prices, no matter when our services are needed. Pre-planning your funeral is one of the most thoughtful things you can do for your family. Call us for details. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge. Online at brucesfuneralhome.com.
Hi, I'm Amber. I'm a mom of 2, and I live with HIV. When I first received my diagnosis, I was really worried about how I was going to provide for my kids because I knew taking control of my diagnosis was going to be expensive. So I started looking for any resources that could help us out, and I found out I was eligible for Ryan White services through the Iowa Department of Public Health. I qualified for medication and medical care, financial help, transportation, housing, and even counseling. I'm amazed by how much support is available, and I wish I had talked to someone sooner, especially now that I know I'm not alone. Over 3,000 Iowans are living with HIV. How we take care of ourselves and how we manage our care are 2 of the most important ways we can live our best lives. I'm living with HIV, not dying from it. Why wait? Reach out for testing and care services at stophiviowa.org.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. That's what we're doing. We're making radio great again. I don't really think it could be done without me. I really don't. Yeah, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and I'm the Doctor of Truth. And on the air with me now is the Doctor of Climate Change, David Osterberg of the Iowa Policy Project. How are you, David?
And also of Truth.
You are the Doctor of Truth as well. He is the Doctor of Truth number 2. I suppose if we adopted the names as pro wrestlers do, I would be Doctor of Truth 1, and David Oster would be Doctor of Truth 2, and we'd be some sort of tag team. I don't know why I'm going back to the 80s when I used to watch those things with little kids in the neighborhood, but there we are. David Osterberg, of course, is a co-founder of the Iowa Policy Project, a research-backed group that they hope will affect public policy. They hope their fact-based research will affect public policy. And our frustration in our conversation all these years has been of what good is fact when we're talking politics. But lo and behold, some conservatives now, according to the Des Moines Register, have joined the conversation on conservation policy. Now, it's one thing to join the conversation, David, but are people like you and conservatives in the same neighborhood or even on the same planet when it comes to clean energy?
Well, I don't know. I mean, some of the people that are identified seem pretty good to me. You know, I mean, I've worked with some of these new conservatives who are claiming that everybody thinks that anything good is done by, I like the way they began, because they kind of said that all the good stuff on the environment is being handled by Democrats and liberal Democrats at that. Hey, that's right. And they want to join in. And some of these people who want to join in are people I know. Eric Wolfson, good Republican, wrote a great book on Grassley, by the way. Dave Oman, I worked with Dave before when trying to identify candidates for the legislature who might be worthwhile supporting from environmentalists. Dave's problem was every time he found a good one, they were running against an even better Democrat because they were usually from Ames or Iowa City.
That is a problem.
Yeah, that was a problem for Dave. But I mean, certainly his heart's in the right place. And Daryl Hansen, former member of the Iowa Utilities Board, I speak very highly of Daryl. Daryl's really good. Now, if they, but you have exactly the right question. Are they going to do anything except just kind of more lip service? Are they going to take on the Republicans in the Senate who have destroyed energy efficiency in the state and who tried to destroy solar energy for individuals? Will they take them on? And that's the question. And we hope the answer is yes.
Well, I've often thought, and I've probably expressed to you a couple of times when you're on the air with me, that there's not going to be any real movement on clean energy until the people with all the money figure out how they can control it and profit from it. As long as they're finding profit elsewhere, we won't have clean energy legislation. As soon as they find out how they can invest their money and make even more money, then we'll be a green state. And as this article mentions, by the way, and it's on our Facebook page, or it's on my Facebook page at AM 1400 KVFD, the guy who was Mr. Wind Energy in Iowa is Chuck Grassley.
Yep.
He wrote the first clean energy bill, wind energy bill, in 1993.
Yeah, right. It was the production tax credit.
Right.
And that has been the important thing that Mid-Am has taken advantage of, putting up all their wind turbines around. They've got a bunch of money from the federal government that helped them build those plants. So there's an example of what you're talking about. Is it possible to make a whole bunch of money and do the right thing? Yeah, Mid-Am figured out a way of doing that. Now that same company, though, Mid-American, is taking on solar as long as they don't own it. They're happy with solar and they want to go out and do the same kind of thing, make a bunch of money. But they're monopolies. They've always been monopolies. And so the way they act is let's go be even more of a monopolist by crushing all of these small businesses. And again, there's a bunch of small businesses who are out there putting those panels on your garage and hooking the thing up, doing all that work. They're getting a profit. It's not that nobody there is going to make any money. It is who's going to make the money. And
that's right.
That's why
always
Darrell
the deal.
Hansen needs to take on Mid-Am and say, damn it, stop what you're doing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And if it realized that it was Republicans who stopped this bill, all the Democrats were going to vote against it, but you had to have enough Republicans also voting against it. That's why it didn't pass this last time. And it was mainly rural Republicans, though, because remember, this is where the pork producers were on the side of the Angels.
Right.
And I think that, Mid-Am's going to come back again. They spent, I don't know how much money, certainly a whole bunch in those stupid ads saying that we're all a bunch of freeloaders who have solar panels because we're not paying our share of whatever.
I loved it. There was an investigation as to who was running those ads, and we still don't know.
We don't know.
We don't know. It's just a lawyer somewhere filing papers. And who funded the lawyer? We don't know.
We don't know.
Citizens United has got to go.
It does.
Jesus, come on. I mean, that could be anybody.
It could be anybody, and it's probably the Koch brothers.
Yeah, or Mid-Am or some group like that.
Or Mid-Am, and or maybe both of those.
Yeah.
But the point is, if we have a conservative group who sometime in the summer goes out and talks to these, there were 13 Republicans who put a very strategic amendment on Mid-Am's bill. Mid-Am's bill wanted to destroy solar. They put an amendment on that said, rather than do that, let's have a study and find out if the environmentalists are right, that their solar energy gives benefits to Mid-Am, it isn't costs. And if those guys need to stand up, they need to keep where they are. Pork producers can help, but a group like this, Conservatives for the American Way, or whatever they're calling themselves, they could certainly help out. But, let's get back to your original point. Maybe it's just window dressing and they just realize this is a popular issue and they're trying to get in there. I don't know.
Well, they're trying.
I trust some of these people.
Well, they want to control the profit that's going to be made from wind energy or solar energy or whatever. And they understand, I'm sure, that we're going to run out of oil one of these days, or it's going to be. I don't know why they haven't jumped on ethanol more, but they haven't.
They haven't. Again, and I'm one of these, great environmental credentials, and I still like ethanol because they beat up on the oil companies.
Well, and that's the deal. If you look at who's around President Trump. And I think President Trump would like to do something in the Midwest, but he's got John Cronin of Texas. He's got Sonny Perdue of Georgia. I mean, Louisiana oil and gas people. I mean, come on.
Right.
I mean, that's who's around him.
And that's why he said stupid stuff like wind turbines cause cancer. What an idiot. I mean, that is really hard. And also he said that the value of your house is going to drop by 75%.
Oh, at least.
Oh, my God. I mean, there is data out there. You could look at it, but he just, shoots from the hip, says whatever the hell he wants to say.
Well, he said he could get up there and say anything, and there'd be certain people who would believe him. And he also said he could stand on Fifth Avenue in New York, shoot a pistol, and hit someone and kill them, and he'd still be elected. I'm beginning to think that's true.
Well, God help us if that's true.
Yes, I know, David. My liberal friends have been in the fetal position for 2.5 years now.
That's right.
Every now and then they jump up and scream, Trump, Trump, and then they lay back down in the fetal position. I just enjoy the show. It's a clown show to me, and it always is. I'm like George. My real inspiration, philosophical and intellectually, was George Carlin. I think he had it. I think he had the correct attitude and was able to articulate it as very few could.
Exactly.
And poor
no,
George.
no, and people, I have gotten more than one person send me a picture of George Carlin and say, Are you sure that's not you? Because I do resemble him.
Now that you mention it, there is a resemblance. Yeah, but George was George was a one of a kind. Gosh, a long time. The 7 dirty words you can never say on television. Now I think you say them all the time. But
I think you do now. Yeah,
I think
but
it's a
at the
different
time you couldn't.
Oh no. But he was always spot on when it came to he had a good grasp of history and how power works, and again he could tell people in a story and make them laugh, and if you can make people laugh and take medicine at the same time, you really have a lot of talent, and that was George Carlin's real skill.
And a linguist. He knew language.
You know, and he gave the nuns he became an atheist fairly early in life, but he didn't hesitate to credit his mother and the nuns he went to school with for giving him that gift. You know, his mother. I remember him in an interview. His mother would say, "Look," she'd write something, and she was an amateur writer of sorts, and she'd say, "Look, George, look how this word cuts through. See how this word or these 2 or 3 words cuts through." And if you watch what he did in his stage presentations, he would pick out a few words, and he would cut through with those words. The rest of it would be, when I was teaching broadcasting at Iowa Central here in town, I used to use him as an example of a great communicator.
Yeah.
He and Martin Luther King and some others. And
little foul mouthed.
Oh yeah, I had to kind of pick certain comedy routines. The college, of course, would put up with some things, but some of the things somebody might go home and tell their mom, this is what they learned in school today. So I had to be careful. You have to be careful too, I'm sure, on occasion. But no, George Carlin was great, and I would have loved to hear him taken off on climate change.
Oh, exactly. He has one thing about saving the earth.
Oh, he does.
Earth don't need saving. It's humans that need saving.
See, there it is. That insight that he had. That's terrific. Who are? I want to get back to this piece in the Des Moines Register. Who are some of these? Are there any? I didn't really see any conservative names that jump right out at me.
Yeah, well, the people who signed the thing, I didn't know them either, but behind them are Eric Wolfson and Daryl Hansen, Dave Oman. Those are 3 names I do know, and each honorable person, I would call them environmentalists. And Eric's working for this group called SILT, trying to take farmland, put it into vegetables, a different kind of farming, making sure that land doesn't go to people who want to put up trophy houses. If you're going to do something out in the rural areas that's going to be different, by golly, grow some vegetables, take them to a farmer's market. Let's make sure that agriculture stays in rural areas. And Eric's working for them.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I ran into him in Des Moines when I was with the director of that organization. So, no, again, I'm hopeful. Again, remember, I'm the optimist here when you have me on. Remember?
Well, and we're a good balance there because I have no optimism.
Yeah, I know that. And I'm the one that says, yeah, there are a lot of pressures against all of this, but just what if those guys could come to some of the 13 Republicans that signed on to that amendment that killed that Mid-American terrible bill and say, stay with it, brother. We're on your side. You're doing the right thing. That could make a difference in it only needs to make a difference in about 6 of them, and Mid-American loses again next year.
All right.
So that's why I'm hopeful. And again, it's kind of the philosophy here. I could kind of roll up in a fetal position too, like many of my friends, but it seems like going after a couple of these things and knocking them off before this awful this tide of red just washes through us. We got to realize things are going to come back, and when they come back, we can't have lost all the good things we've done in the past.
Well, I hope that's the truth. I hope that's the truth. It's hard to see the future for me anymore because I've been so wrong in the past.
Right.
I thought when Nixon left office, we were all going to be in nirvana or something.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, I thought I knew what the 2016 election was going to be like, too.
Oh, me too. God, I was calling it on the air. Not a chance for Trump to win, ladies and gentlemen. Hey, ain't going to happen. Well, and not only did he win, but the Senate and the House went Republican, and 900 legislative seats in the states went Republican as well. The newspapers reported it, but they didn't. I think they were too stunned to really talk about the magnitude of the victory in 2016. It was sweeping. And I'll tell you, David, it wasn't about Trump, and it wasn't necessarily about Hillary Clinton. What Clinton will never get, and Trump perhaps did, is that people were sick of the system itself. The self-serving, self-aggrandizing political and economic system that we have, that where things never change, where people are always going to struggle. They're always going to struggle. That's the world we live in, and it seems to be getting worse instead of better.
And that's what all these yellow vest people in France seem to be doing.
That's exactly right.
I mean, workers in France are so much better off than workers in America.
Yes, they work
crying out loud.
They work like 30 hours a week, and
oh yeah, everything. And yet they still realize the system is against them, and the multi-billionaires are getting multi-billionaire-ish, and
that's exactly
everybody
right.
else is limping along. It's a bad system. It's a good system if you have enough control over it, and we've lost all that control.
Yes, absolutely. We have lost. And if you take away, first of all, if you take away the feeling that anyone's in control of their lives, you have an unhappy person. And if you tell them their identity is worth nothing, then you have somebody who's willing to push back.
Yeah.
And it's not a republic. We're really, and I'm glad of this, evolving beyond Republican and Democratic Party politics. It freaks out both parties. They're screaming at us to be afraid of the other guys. But anybody who listens to this radio station knows that I feel that the problem is the system itself, and the heart of the system is our two-party system. And it's time for that to go. It's time for a change to our system. I'm not sure about what it will look like in the end. And of course, even if I had a plan, God knows what it would look like in the end anyway. And people are afraid to change. But I'm ready. Again, I really thought there was going to be change when Nixon left the presidency. And all these years later, here we are.
Right. And since then, working people have not got any better. Since about you can either look at it like 1973 or 1979, 80. If you look at those years and go forward, and people in the 20% of us wage earners who earn the least have not made any gains whatsoever.
That's right.
And it's people, with a college degree are doing better, but they're not doing great because all the money's going to the billionaires, unfortunately.
Sure. That's right. We have a system where the investor class makes money. Labor isn't worth a damn.
Yeah.
And to make matters worse, we have the Democratic Party saying, well, what we really need to do is flood the labor market with even poorer people from Central America. Everybody's heart goes out to immigrants trying to get to our country. But for God's sake, will you look at the bigger picture? Apparently not. All right, I'm on my soapbox, David. I'll get off.
I can see you up there.
I know. I'm on my soapbox. I got to get off. But there's a piece on my Facebook page that David Osterberg and Mike Owen at the Iowa Policy Project sent me. It's a Des Moines Register article on perhaps some conservatives seeing the light on cleaner energy. And that's always good news. If we can start working together, because the two-party system, I might just scrap the rest of the program and rail against the two-party system. All the two-party system is going to encourage us to do is be divided. And we have to come together on some very important things in our society and put aside all these screamers who want to be the next one in the big chair and solve the problems. And if conservatives can come over a little bit and liberals can come over a little bit and moderates, which is most of us, by the way, if moderates can just say, well, let's get something done and stop screaming, then we're going to make a big move, I think. David Osterberg of the Iowa Policy Project, thanks for listening to me.
Well, good talking to you. We did some talking besides listening.
All right. Take care.
Hey, bye-bye.
Bye.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
Fourth loss in a row on Wall Street. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. The Dow down 141 points at the closing bell. It could have been worse today, though, as the U.S. and China prepare to resume trade talks in Washington. The Dow had been down over 400 points during the session before some hopeful comments from President Trump.
I did get last night a very beautiful letter from President Xi. Let's work together. Let's see if we can get something done. But they renegotiated the deal.
He criticizes China's team for trying to renegotiate on concessions they had already made. That prompted a new round of U.S. tariffs set to kick in just after midnight tonight.
Yes. Now, what it means is that stuff you buy from China will be more expensive starting Friday on $200 billion worth of items. That includes everything from strawberries to inflatable rafts to parking meters. It's 6,000 items that are under that.
Fox Business Network's Edward Lawrence. China's delegation, led by the vice premier, may try to at least win a postponement of those tariffs. The 19-year-old accused in the deadly shooting at a California synagogue last month on the last day of Passover is now hit with federal hate crime charges.
We will not allow our community members to be hunted in their houses of worship, where they should feel free and safe to exercise their right to practice their religion.
That's U.S. Attorney Robert Brewer Jr. announcing the 109 hate crime charges against the 19-year-old suspect. The woman who posed as an heiress, swindling banks, hotels, and even close friends out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in New York, is sentenced to at least 4 years in prison. Anna Sorokin could serve as much as 12 years. She is expected to be deported back to her native Germany for overstaying a visa once her sentence is finished. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring is prime home buying season, so if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock a low rate, which can save you money every month on your new mortgage. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed rate loans. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
C, facing a lawsuit over a new law that could send voter registration workers to jail.
The ACLU and a handful of voting rights advocates are taking Tennessee to court over a new state law that would impose fines on hired elections workers who submit too many incomplete voter registration forms or for paying form collectors on a quota basis. While the state will conduct training for these workers, anyone found willfully violating the law could be charged with misdemeanors, which could mean jail time. The ACLU says this violates constitutional rights of free speech and due process. Eben Brown, Fox News.
Charges dropped against a grandmother arrested at Walt Disney World after CBD oil was found in her purse at a security checkpoint. CBD is extracted from the flowers of marijuana plants. Hester Berghalter had said she has a doctor's note prescribing the oil for her arthritis, but she had been charged with possession of hashish originally. Now prosecutors say the case is not suitable for prosecution. A Massachusetts man is charged with illegally flying a helicopter.
Antonio Santanastasio, 59 years old, in East Brookfield, Massachusetts, is accused of taking off and landing from his backyard more than 50 times last year without a helicopter license. Federal Aviation Administration agents say he had a license but lost it in 2000 after participating in the theft of a helicopter from an airport. They say when questioned about the backyard flights, he repeatedly lied about not being allowed to fly, also that the path he was using was extremely dangerous. His helicopter's a Robinson R-22. He could get up to 5 years in prison if convicted of serving as an airman without a certificate and making false statements to federal agents. Chris Foster, Fox News.
The White House spokeswoman just confirming that President Trump does plan to nominate the acting defense chief, Patrick Shanahan, to be the U.S. defense chief, essentially to keep the job. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The co-ed state qualifying district track meet scheduled for today at Dodger Stadium has been postponed to tomorrow, May 10th, with a 4 p.m. start time. Des Moines was under a community safety alert this morning, as Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
Des Moines police issued the alert after a mountain lion was spotted well within the capital city limits in a residential area near Interstate 235 and 31st Street. There's a middle school within a block of that intersection, and an elementary school is just beyond. The big cat was captured on video, prowling past a home's front steps and sniffing at a recycling bin. Police urge extreme caution, especially with children and pets. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed a measure into law that gives her greater control over the way judges are selected and weakening the influence of attorneys. Language making the change was inserted into a larger funding bill approved on the last day of the legislative session. Reynolds signed it Wednesday with no fanfare, announcing her approval in an email that also noted 4 other bills. She says she's proud to sign it to give all Iowans a greater voice in the process. The majority of the 17-member state judge nominating commission members will now be picked by the governor. She'll choose 9, while liars will choose 8. The commission nominates finalists for the Iowa Supreme Court and the Iowa Court of Appeals and submits them to the governor, who makes the final choice. Democrats accused Republicans of trying to stack the courts in their favor after losing cases involving abortion and same-sex marriage. Iowa's among at least 4 states where Republican lawmakers moved to lessen the role of attorneys on judicial nominating panels. Despite international trade tariffs and a series of other challenges, Iowa livestock producers are seeing hog prices rise in recent weeks, which comes as a welcome surprise to many. Lee Schultz, an ag economist with the Iowa State University Extension, explains the roller coastering of pork prices on the commodities market.
I think what was driving, lower prices in the early parts of 2019 was impacts of retaliatory tariffs and impacts on the trade that we expected. And then really through late March and April, we really seen the impact of ASF's situation in China.
That's African swine fever, which has reportedly spread to every region of China and several surrounding countries, dropping the hog population in China by nearly 40 million head compared to last year. Schultz says U.S. pork producers are also seeing the potential for significant growth in global protein demand.
Recently, I think it has been really the markets, the supply situation weighing on it a bit, as well as, now new news of, kind of delayed in the trade negotiation talks, I think have all been working on the market and why we've seen such volatility lately.
Now that we're well into spring and the warmer weather will soon bring us to summer grilling season, Schultz says we are entering a key period of demand for pork, which should keep prices higher.
Now we have really 3 big holidays in front of us with Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and Father's Day. And so while a lot of purchases have already been made for Mother's Day, we're looking still at several holidays in front of us, and demand is very strong.
Schultz says profitability levels are higher for the pork producer than what had been seen for the last few years, and he remains optimistic for the last remaining months of 2019 and into 2020. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy this afternoon with a high of 50. Winds out of the north, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, 39. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 62. Mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. Chance for scattered storms Saturday. Chance for scattered rain showers Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 46.
Wouldn't it be great to see your windows in a whole new light? Do it right. Call your local neighborhood experts. Budget Blinds. You'll get beautiful style and personalized service for every budget. We bring the showroom right to your home, so you can choose from hundreds of blinds, shades, shutters, and drapes, plus smart home window coverings you control with the touch of a button. And with Budget Blinds, we do it all for you. Just sit back, relax, and enjoy. There's a reason why Budget Blinds is the #1 provider of custom window coverings in North America. When we say we have style and service for every budget, we really mean it. So let's get your home a whole lot of gorgeous. Get your free consultation right at home. Just go online to budgetblinds.com or call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS. Call 855-BUDGET-BLINDS for your free consultation right at home. Now that's beautiful. At participating independently owned and operated franchises only. Ask for details.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
You want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
No, liberals cannot handle the truth, but we're going to give it to them today anyway. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine, and I welcome to the program with great pleasure once again, Sam Clovis. How are you, Sam?
Doing well, Mike. Thanks for having me on.
No. It's a great pleasure to have you on again. I've had Sam Clovis on the air with me off and on for, several years. Sam Clovis was the Inspector General of the U.S. Space Command. He was also co-chairman and policy advisor for Donald Trump's 2016 presidential campaign, which, by the way, Trump won. I feel compelled to tell everyone again, Trump won. And no, it wasn't a lie. It wasn't some collusion with the Russians, and it wasn't some cosmic mistake. He won. And he won because his opponents were, in part, he won because his opponents were terrible. President Obama, I interrupt. I'm going to have to interrupt myself. I'm really rolling here. I'm going to get back to the rest of Sam's biography in just a minute. But there's a new book out about President Obama's years in the White House and his years, the short time he's been out of office. And he told the author, apparently, that Hillary Clinton ran a soulless, how did he put it? A soulless, scripted campaign. Perfect. I mean, he's got a way. He does. He has a way with words. And that's according to President Barack Obama. Hillary Clinton ran a soulless and scripted campaign, and she lost, and she should have. Anyway, Sam Clovis served in the United States Air Force for almost 25 years. Again, he became Inspector General of the U.S. Space Command. As of 2005, Sam Clovis taught economics at Morningside College here in Iowa, and he was defeated in a campaign for the U.S. Senate and Treasurer of Iowa. As a Republican, he has opposed abortion, opposed Obamacare, opposed the requirement to hire the women and minorities, opposed green energy, and favored keeping God on the public sphere. So, boy, are you in trouble. The liberals don't like anything about you, Sam.
And God bless America.
God bless America. And here's another kicker. He also wanted to expand the military. Oh, my God. Yeah. I do want.
So there's an issue here. I didn't know there was an issue.
There's not to me, and not to other genuine Americans, but some of them are out there who believe that sociology and the work of sociologists takes precedence over the Holy Bible and of science and of and a lot of social science before the last 10 years. Apparently, social science, as modern liberals see it, just started in the last 10 years that told us all these things were perfectly normal. And of course, the Supreme Courts of both Iowa and at the federal level, who apparently feel that they have something in common with sociologists, often use sociology, not the law, not tradition, but sociology to make huge policy changes in our culture and in our lives. Anthony Kennedy, the Associate Justice of the Supreme Court, the key fifth vote in the national gay marriage decision, consulted a sociologist who had been a gay rights advocate for 35 years. She was at Harvard University, and because of the work of this gay rights activist, Anthony Kennedy decided that it was in the law that gays should be married in the United States. Now, if We want to allow gays to be married. Fine. But we do not. That is a lawless decision by former Justice Kennedy. And the court has become lawless. But I'm going to let Sam Clovis weigh in here on a couple of things. Sam, there's so much to talk about. Of course, William Barr is in trouble, or maybe not. He's not in trouble. No, really what I hope happens is that, and I really think that the Democrats are screaming bloody murder about this because they know that the Department of Justice and FBI were monitoring Trump and working against his election, even though they believed he had no choice. For a government law enforcement agency like the FBI to be involved in something like that, that is sedition. If you don't know what sedition is, look it up. There's no other word for it. And James Comey could be the one who's in trouble.
I think it's more than Comey. In fact, I was talking to a friend of mine this afternoon before I called in. A person who worked with us on the campaign, a volunteer on the campaign, who got swept up in the Mueller investigation. And as you know, that I was right in the center of that. The issue for us is the timeline. And I think the timeline is from everything we've been able to piece together, talking to my attorneys, talking to Carter Page, talking to some of the other. By the way, I hadn't been able to talk to Carter for a couple of years because of our legal issues. And I finally, just the other day, when the Mueller report came out, I had the opportunity to call my friend Carter Page and renew that conversation, which was one of the great highlights of all of this, the trials and tribulations we've been through, is to reestablish that friendship, because he is a remarkable man. For people that don't know, he's just a great guy. And I'm just sorry he had to be dragged through the mud on this. But the issue was, in talking to all of these people and piecing these things together, the news reports on George Papadopoulos, all the other factors here, I think there's a documentation of a meeting in the Obama White House in January of 2016. And this is where Clapper and Brennan and Jared Rice, Powers, and probably the FBI heads at that time, Comey and others, got together and said, we have to have a plan. And so from there, launched this effort, an effort to undermine or to create the impression that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians. And I think that was the start. I think that when we got to the point of late March, when we had that one and only meeting of that National Advisory Group on national security in the Trump Tower on March 31st of 2016, that was where I think from there the unmasking began. I think Carter Page became the poster child of that, but I honestly believe there were probably maybe as many as a dozen of us or more that were unmasked by Powers and Rice, and then brought under investigation by the FBI, or should say surveillance by the FBI, and probably the CIA for those who operated overseas. And that was the process that went on, because if you remember, about March 31st, the first part of April, Donald Trump secured enough delegates to secure the nomination. And that happened at the Indiana primary, and I think it was April 14th of 2016. So I think this whole process started as early as January of 2016, blossomed in April of 2016, and gained full flower in the summer. And this is where we see Stephen Halper approaching Carter in Russia. We see Stephen Halper approaching me the end of August of 2016, approaching George Papadopoulos, George being approached by Miss Food and Downer and some of the others from Australia and England. All of that process, because I think they thought George was the weak link. Not that he's weak, but they thought maybe he was the most vulnerable because he was the youngest and most ambitious of that small group. And from there, this whole thing blossoming. I think when they realized that they had not been successful, that's when I think they turned up the wick. And so all of this narrative about the 2017 effort and all that other stuff is a crock of crap. So this had been going on long before the current public narrative had taken place. And I think the evidence is going to show that as it becomes more and more revealed. There have been virtually, Mike, there have been virtually no reporters or hardly anyone that has had access to this information that has been willing to build the timeline the way that many of the others of us have. And the only guy that has come close is Chuck Ross from the Daily Caller. He's the only one that has come close to getting this right. And so I just wanted to provide some context for some of the things that are ongoing and have been ongoing, and show how deep and wide the real conspiracy was on the part of the Obama administration, not on the part of the Trump campaign.
Well, I really think that some news outlets should be investigated for sedition. I think they knew they were lying about the Mueller report all along. Rachel Maddow at MSNBC has been leading people to think that just any day now, the proof that Donald Trump colluded with the Russians to illegally overthrow our election system, and it's going to happen just any day, according to Rachel Maddow. It never happened.
Provide one of the key things in the Mueller report. If people will read the part one, there's an email in there from me to the campaign staff, and particularly this committee, that says we will not engage the Russians ever. And if we ever decide to engage the Russians, we will only do so after publicly meeting with our NATO allies. But our policy is to not engage the Russians. There is documentation that was presented to them in official emails from the campaign that document our position. And so it's right in the Mueller report, that email. And that email is really what has I'm not saying it's by itself, but I know all of our testimony, all of us who had to go and spend tens of thousands of dollars on attorneys and all this other stuff, that was really where we were. And so I remember giving testimony to Adam Schiff and Eric Swalwell. Well, there's a pair to draw to. that I remember giving testimony to those guys because they kept asking about about the Russian position. And I did write them. I wrote a memo back in, I think it was August or September of 2015. And in the memo, which went to the staff, it said in there, we would like to have a better relationship with Russia. Well, yeah, of course we want a better relationship with Russia. And they said, well, what about the relationship that Trump has with Putin? I said, there's no relationship there. I said, Trump doesn't care any more about Putin than he does the man in the moon. I said, I can't believe you guys have fallen for this, that this whole issue of a bromance between Donald J. Trump and Vladimir Putin is simply a smokescreen or is a farce to poke you guys and to get you guys. And he knows that every time he's living rent-free inside your heads. And I told that to Swalwell and Schiff. I said, that is right there. I said, the fact that you believe that, given the preponderance of evidence of the actions of this campaign and subsequently this administration, how in the world are you able to draw that conclusion? And so that was again one of those interesting pieces that nobody's reported and nobody's talked about.
Our guest is Sam Clovis. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Now that William Barr has been held in contempt, now what? I mean, Eric Holder was held in contempt. I don't recall anything serious happening to him. That was over the Fast and Furious thing. What's going to happen with William Barr now?
I don't think anything. I think the House is going to run this to the ground. They'll do as much as they can to besmirch you got to remember, I think they're playing to their base on this.
Oh, yeah, they are.
The American people aren't buying this crap. I mean, Mike, you and I live in Iowa.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about this stuff out here. Nobody cares. And so, so all of this is for both coasts, the East and West Coast.
Oh yeah.
For the elite, the establishment, and they're the only ones that really care. I think the rest of America, so get on with your jobs, do something. The Democrats have been in charge now for however many months, 5 or 6 months, and they haven't lifted a finger to do anything. They could have funded the wall, which they were for, not before they were against it. They could be doing things out here to help expand our tax relief for the middle class. They haven't done anything there. There have been no serious efforts on immigration reform, no serious efforts on national security posture with our military and any of that. No serious efforts on infrastructure. No serious efforts, frankly, on anything. And in fact, every time Trump has brought forward something, they've wanted to fight it. And that includes, by the way, for Iowa people who are in particular related to agriculture, they didn't really do a hell of a lot to help with the 2018 Farm Bill. And so we're looking at a 2018 Farm Bill that is a little hollow, and it's going to have to be looked at again before long, because a lot of the provisions in there just simply are incomplete. So we're going to have that to deal with. And the Democrats could be leading the way on this, but they're not. And and all of this other stuff that goes with the Federal Reserve and trade and all the other stuff. I get all of that, and I suppose there are some issues there. But the Democrats haven't lifted a finger to do one thing for this country since they took control of the House of Representatives.
No, they haven't.
Not one.
No. It's mainly one long hunt for Trump. And if you go on Twitter and find some Democratic politicians, there are people bombarding them to just impeach Trump now, impeach. They're not going to get it done. They will not get it done.
That requires high crimes and misdemeanors.
That's right.
He hadn't done anything. He hadn't done anything wrong. I mean, so let's look at the tax thing, the tax records. First off, whoever leaked those ought to be put in prison.
Absolutely.
And the second thing is, so what? This guy is a billionaire, and billionaires take chances. Billionaires operate their leverage to the hilt. Here's a man who has had the ebb and flow of 40 years of business experience and amassed a wealth of $10 billion. So here's the guy who has done all of these things. And again, you want to talk about somebody that does not care? The American people and the Trump voters could care less about this whole issue. So again, what is the crime of a businessman being a businessman? Explain. That's the fundamental question. What's wrong with a businessman being a businessman?
Well, it's just something to embarrass Trump with. That's all. I mean, who looks up these things? Who forces these things? Who does these things? The whole intent was just to embarrass Trump in some way, or to discredit his claim that he's a top businessman, when obviously he is. Obviously he is.
Well, I've seen him wheel and deal. I've seen him in action. I've seen him. And when the guy is an absolute sponge for information. He has to know all the details of what's going on. Now, he is instinctive. He does have a lot of instinct, acts on instinct. But I've seen him talk to his kids about business things, and he is tough. And you would expect that. A man who has been through what he has for 40 years, you would expect him to be tough. You would expect him to be demanding. You would expect him to need to know all the information available and possible, because this guy understands how to make money. The other part of the other side of this, though, is as an employer, people need to go talk to his employees. I have seen the virtual love fest that his employees have with Donald J. Trump because of the way he treats them and the way he operates. I've seen him in a hotel he owns literally go down and put on an apron and work in the kitchen and serve tables. I've seen him clean tables. I've seen him clean glasses behind the bar. I've seen him go around with the housekeeping staff in his hotels, helping them, go in and bringing them linen so they can make the beds and doing those kinds. That's the kind of guy that inspires the loyalty that he does from the people who work for him, and you can count me among those.
Well, Sam Clovis is our guest, and just before we go to our news break, I want to report good news. Colorado students in the high school that was attacked by some lunatics recently, and one courageous young man who was going to join the Marine Corps was killed. There was a rally held in the school gymnasium. Now, unbeknownst to the students, the rally was put together by March for Life and for the Brady campaign. Two Democratic politicians showed up, U.S. Representative Jason Crow and Senator Michael Bennet, and they began their usual anti-gun screed. The students walked out of the gym and completely disrupted the speakers, and they were furious and let their anger known that these people were using them as pawns in some anti-gun campaign. And Senator Bennett had to be escorted from the chambers, by the way, which is good news. I'm glad students understand whether they believe in gun control or not. They don't want to use an occasion like this to politicize or to advance some politician's position. And I think that's courageous and very mature of them. And these Michael Bennet should resign, as far as I'm concerned. To do something like that with the school still in shock is just a terrible thing to do. He was there trying to get on the evening television news, and now he's on. Sam Clovis is our guest. Sam, give us a call back in 7 or 8 minutes, and we'll continue.
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. This is AM 1400 KVFT.
Choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely on advertising. Sponsored by Case Legal Media. Attention. This is an important message for anyone that has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers. The Internal Agency for Research on Cancer warned that overexposure to Roundup and other weed killers may increase the risk of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. Monsanto, the manufacturer of Roundup, may have known that Roundup and other weed killers were likely linked to organ damage and cancer. This information was hidden from the public as proprietary trade secret since 1981, and Monsanto may have failed to warn of the potential risk of cancer. If you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer after being exposed to Roundup or other weed killers, you may be entitled to significant compensation. Call us now at 800-715-3913. Our network of attorneys are ready to fight for you. You'll pay nothing unless there's a recovery in your favor. Call now for a free consultation at 800-715-3913. You must protect your legal rights. Call 800-715-3913. Again, 800-715-3913.
Hi, this is Amber at First State Bank. Are you currently enrolled in online banking? If so, are you taking advantage of e-statements? For a limited time, First State Bank will pay you $10 per account that you enroll in e-statements. You will receive the same information as your paper statement, but with the convenience of electronic access and the security of viewing in online banking. Must have a qualifying account at First State Bank. Terms and conditions apply. Visit fsbwc.com or stop in to one of our 7 convenient locations to learn more. First State Bank, first for you. Member FDIC.
I'm Jamie Brundage, owner of Historic Bruce Funeral Home. We're a full-service funeral home with an off-site crematory. At Bruce's, we specialize in pre-arrangements and family support before, during, and after the service. We also offer beautiful memorial items to help you remember your loved one forever. Bruce Funeral Home is proud to be by your side every step of the way throughout the funeral process. Historic Bruce Funeral Home, Fort Dodge.
The bakers of Village Hearth are proud to introduce their latest additions to their family of fine bread products. Pennsylvania Dutch Potato Rolls. Baked the old-fashioned way using quality ingredients like real potatoes and honey. Their unique recipe makes these the most moist and flavorful buns around, just like homemade. So once you grilled your hot dogs, burgers, or brats to perfection, no ordinary roll will do. Finish them off with a Village Hearth Pennsylvania Dutch Potato Roll. Village Hearth, baked fresh locally.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The co-ed state qualifying district track meet scheduled for today at Dodger Stadium has been postponed to tomorrow, May 10th, with a 4 p.m. start time. Des Moines was under a community safety alert this morning, as Radio Iowa's Matt Kelly reports.
Des Moines police issued the alert after a mountain lion was spotted well within the capital city limits in a residential area near Interstate 235 and 31st Street. There's a middle school within a block of that intersection, and an elementary school is just beyond. The big cat was captured on video, prowling past a home's front steps and sniffing at a recycling bin. Police urge extreme caution, especially with children and pets. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed a measure into law that gives her greater control over the way judges are selected and weakening the influence of attorneys. Language making the change was inserted into a larger funding bill approved on the last day of the legislative session. Reynolds signed it Wednesday with no fanfare, announcing her approval in an email that also noted 4 other bills. She says she's proud to sign it to give all Iowans a greater voice in the process. The majority of the 17-member state judge nominating commission members will now be picked by the governor. She'll choose 9, while liars will choose 8. The commission nominates finalists for the Iowa Supreme Court and the Iowa Court of Appeals and submits them to the governor, who makes the final choice. Democrats accused Republicans of trying to stack the courts in their favor after losing cases involving abortion and same-sex marriage. Iowa's among at least 4 states where Republican lawmakers moved to lessen the role of attorneys on judicial nominating panels. Despite international trade tariffs and a series of other challenges, Iowa livestock producers are seeing hog prices rise in recent weeks, which comes as a welcome surprise to many. Lee Schultz, an ag economist with the Iowa State University Extension, explains the roller coastering of pork prices on the commodities market.
I think what was driving, lower prices in the early parts of 2019 was impacts of retaliatory tariffs and impacts on the trade that we expected. And then really through late March and April, we really seen the impact of ASF situation in China.
That's African swine fever, which has reportedly spread to every region of China and several surrounding countries, dropping the hog population in China by nearly 40 million head compared to last year. Schultz says U.S. pork producers are also seeing the potential for significant growth in global protein demand.
Recently, I think it has been really the markets, the supply situation weighing on it a bit, as well as, now new news of, kind of delayed in the trade negotiation talks, I think have all been working on the market and why we've seen such volatility lately.
Now that we're well into spring and the warmer weather will soon bring us to summer grilling season, Schultz says we are entering a key period of demand for pork, which should keep prices higher.
Now we have really 3 big holidays in front of us with Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and Father's Day. And so while a lot of purchases have already been made for Mother's Day, we're looking still at, several holidays in front of us, and demand is very strong.
Schultz says profitability levels are higher for the pork producer than what had been seen for the last few years, and he remains optimistic for the last remaining months of 2019 and into 2020. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy this afternoon with a high of 50. Winds out of the north, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, 39. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 62. Mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. Chance for scattered storms Saturday. Chance for scattered rain showers Sunday. From the weatherology.
Hey, Sam.
Yes.
Be about 2 minutes, buddy.
Okay.
Is this going the way you want it to?
Oh yeah. What do you think?
Oh, I think I'm fine. I'm good.
That's good. I like it. It's rich.
All
It's
right.
rich. Good.
All right.
Good radio.
Okay. Hang tight. We'll be with you.
To eat and don't require preparation after purchasing, aside from heating up. Examples are frozen, pre-cooked foods, deli salads, snack foods, canned soup, sliced produce, and more. These foods make up one of the fastest growing areas of the grocery store, but why is that? Andy Herrig with the Food Marketing Institute says there are many reasons for the growth.
We're working a lot more and we just have less time.
A USDA study says the foods save households time in meal preparation as people face more time constraints. And Herrick says there are incentives to purchase prepared food.
Prices are coming down. The health aspects of that are getting better.
The study also says millennial consumers born between 1981 and the mid-2000s typically purchase more prepared foods than any other generation.
They tended to grow up in households where cooking and family meals were maybe less of a frequent occurrence than, say, Gen X people did.
But are these foods good for you? Some of the ready-to-eat foods have lower nutritional values or higher sodium content, But pre-sliced produce, for example, would be just as healthy as whole produce. I'm Julie Harker with Healthy Living on Brownfield.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 19 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you have someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com. Home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
There are a ton of social networking websites, but one stands apart for a very special reason. This one saves lives. It's MatchingDonors.com. MatchingDonors.com links organ donors with people in need of kidney and other transplants. In the U.S., 22 people die each day waiting for an organ transplant, most of them for kidneys. If you've ever considered becoming a living organ donor, or if you're someone in need of an organ transplant, visit MatchingDonors.com, home of the greatest gift of all, the gift of life. MatchingDonors.com.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
At AM 1400 KVFD.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. I'm Michael Devine. Yeah, we're going to tell the truth, make it matter, and we're never going to be boring. Joining us in that effort today is Sam Clovis, well-known conservative in our part of the state. I first met Sam Clovis a number of years ago out at Iowa Central. Sam, you were going around the state at that time giving scholarly talks concerning the history of Western civilization. And like many who I talked to that morning, I went out and I thought, well, I'll take a look for half hour, an hour, and if I think it's all right, I'll stick around, but I'm probably going to leave pretty soon. But like everybody in the building, we were transfixed. King Clovis was in the room.
Well, it's good of you to remember. I had done part of my academic deal was I thought it was important to put together that lecture series, and it was just, to me, it was a labor of love, and because I really do think people need a lesson in civics, and I think it was helpful. And I'm glad I had the opportunity to go around. And it was great to meet you there, by the way. And that has struck up a friendship that has stuck together there for quite some time now.
Sure.
And I'm very proud of that.
Tell us who King Clovis was.
Well, King Clovis was the first Christian king in the 6th century. He was the king of the Frankish Empire, which would have been at that time France, Germany, Poland, a lot of the Eastern European countries. And he converted to Catholicism or to Christianity because of his wife Clotilda had converted and told King Clovis that you better convert or there are going to be issues in our marriage. And he did. Then he went on his zealot way to convert the rest of at that time the Frankish Empire, and he did it with pike and spear and sword. So that was he was a pretty mean guy, and I suppose I'm proud to be a direct descendant. So it's good.
So he was before Charles Martel then.
Oh yes, and this was early 6th century. I think 506, 513, somewhere along in there. I had been studying. One of the big reasons I got into this was a parallel thing. I was working on the Constitution. Studying the Constitution, how we got to the Constitution, and subsequently how we got to where we are today. But I also had become enamored and enthralled with studying the first century of Christianity. And I was particularly impressed with the courage of that first century of disciples, that first 3 generations of disciples, and then how that one event in Jerusalem with the crucifixion and then the rising of Jesus literally transformed the world at that moment. And then how that small band of men then walked the earth and then took that Christian message and then subsequently led to one of the largest conversions in the history of mankind. And that I've always been impressed with that. And I thought Paul, of course, is my favorite acolyte of Jesus, and And of course, he was a very bad man, and then had that moment on the road to Damascus, and essentially changed his life and made him one of the great Christians of all time.
There are many people who've been knocked from their horse on the road to Damascus, but only figuratively. Only figuratively. But it has had that experience of Paul's has happened to millions and millions of people, God knows how many, over the years. Sometimes driving in a car, sometimes sitting at home, but the same experience has happened. You talked about, and I'm going to jump ahead a little bit in history here with you. You talked about Franklin D. Roosevelt's attempt to pack the Supreme Court. And there was one of the justices or one of the people at the time. I don't know if it was a justice or one of the representatives, legislative representatives. After the fight was over, he said, "Well, this was something we did to save the nine." Yeah, I think it was a Supreme Court justice that they made a ruling more favorable to President Roosevelt, and they said they did it to save the nine justice configuration that we still have on the federal court. I'm not a big fan of the court that we have now, Sam. I haven't been a fan of the court since the Warren Court, and I know there's a lot of things that the Warren Court did that were probably positive, but the idea that a bunch of sociologists could get together and feed information to a bunch of judges and change our lives and our culture is outrageous to me.
Well, I agree. You go back to Louis Brandeis, who was appointed in the 1920s, and then you go through Owen Roberts was the justice you're thinking of, and it was over a minimum wage case out of Washington State, I think. And it was 1937, and it was the vote to save nine. And Owen Roberts, ironically, the last name there, was the justice that flipped the vote that essentially saved that form of the Supreme Court. A lot of people don't realize in Article 3 of the Constitution that Congress actually has authority over the courts and can design the court system any way it sees fit.
Yes, they can.
And that, a lot of people don't know that. And so, and I would agree with you. I think if you take what has happened is that we have people, liberals, that get appointed to the court, and these are progressive people. So they are relativistic in their view. They're relativistic in their ethics and morals. And thus, they look at the perfection of man as the goal of what goes on, and that someone like them are the people who are best to determine what is that leading us to that perfection. The originalists of the courts are absolutely the opposite of that. They go back and look at the original intent of what the law was that was written, the context of the law at that time, to provide them original intent. And this is where we run into this great challenge. Today, the justices, I think, that are getting appointed, and this is, the Roberts and Kavanaugh and Gorsuch and others, I think that it's a mixed bag. And I think the court's record for the last 30 or 40 years is really checkered. It is hard to define whether it's a conservative court or a liberal court, because some of these decisions are just totally made up.
Oh, definitely.
There's absolutely no precedent for any of this crap that we see come out of the court. And by the way, the court's job is not to make law. If the court is dissatisfied with the way a law has evolved or the challenges come forward, then their responsibility is to put that law back into the original jurisdiction for remedy. The remedy is with the legislative bodies that made the law. The court should never provide remedy. And that is really one of the great mysteries to me, as to how, there are certain cases such as clemency issues, stays of execution, some of these other factors where we're looking at perhaps, make sure that due process was adhered to and all that other. But the court should never make law. The court should always remand back to the courts or back to the lower courts or back to the legislative body, so that those people remedy the mistakes or the flaws in the law. That's the intent and should be the action of the Supreme Court.
Well, in one of his books, Robert Bork talked about the hesitancy of the legislative branches and the executive branch to do anything with the court. They like giving tough cases to the court. It saves them a tough vote. They don't have to go home and explain to whatever branch, because every state has liberal and conservatives, and liberal and conservatives, especially in the year 2019, will show up and start complaining about this, that, or the other thing. And they just don't want to do that. The legislators just don't want to do that. So they leave these things in the hands of the court. Now, that's utter nonsense. By the way, Robert Bork, I will never forget this as long as I live. On national television, Robert Bork, who was trying to be confirmed for a seat on the Supreme Court, was denied and lectured to and morally admonished by Ted Kennedy, of all people. The boozing, philandering Ted Kennedy, who drove off a bridge in a drunken episode and killed a poor young girl, had the audacity to sit there and read the riot act to Robert Bork. And that admonishment by Kennedy was credited with defeating Bork's nomination to the court.
Well, I think if you read Robert Bork's writings, and I've read a lot of them, first off, next to Clarence Thomas, I can't imagine a court that would have had Robert Bork and Clarence Thomas on it at the same time. That would have been an absolute delight to watch, because the two of the great conservative minds, the two of the great originalists, to sit there and write about that. If people who would read what Bork has written about the sanctity of the Constitution and all of the true nature and what the courts ought to be doing, I think they would be blown away, because one, he's very scholarly when he writes. It's not easy reading, but it is in fact some of the best writing that I've ever encountered dealing with the court. And I can't imagine having him and Clarence Thomas on the court at the same time, and what that would have done for the originalist movement in the court system.
The book I was trying to think of, by the way, is Slouching Toward Gomorrah. Modern Liberalism and the American Decline. He wrote that in the 90s. I'm talking about Robert Bork, of course. But he made a very compelling case that it was an example of legislative cowardice that keeps the Supreme Court system as it is today. We tried to push back on it a little bit in Iowa this year and didn't get very far. And part of the reason was some of the Republicans didn't want to go along with it. Some of the Republicans didn't want to go along with it. Of course, all the Democrats voted against any change in the Supreme Court structure in the state of Iowa, because the court thwarts the majority. And the Democrats congressional seats, but I think that's an aberration. I think David Young will beat Cindy Axne next time around. And I don't know about Finkenauer up there in the first district, or what's going to happen now that Dave Losbeck has retired. Losbeck was the single Democrat for a while. That's going to be a tough seat for Republicans no matter what, because that's where the University of Iowa is. But Iowa is a conservative state, and there are some pockets of liberalism, certainly in West Des Moines and the People's Republic of Johnson County. But really, that's about it.
Well, there's certainly there are pockets of names as well, and you run into some over in Dubuque and down in the south east corner. But a lot of that is based on the blue collar Catholic, old school Democrats. These are also people who would vote for Trump, and so I think that when it comes to I think we have a chance of flipping at least two of these seats back to the Republicans. I think Steve King is going to weather the storm. And I really think the people who challenged him in this primary business so far, they've probably had the best quarter they're going to have in this race to the primary a year from now. And I think Steve is doing a good job of reclamation. I am a big Steve King fan. Steve King is one of my dearest friends, and I am absolutely, totally unashamed to support him in any way, shape, or form. Because yes, has he made mistakes? Yes, he has, and I would say that publicly. I've said it to him, but at the same time, I think he has represented our district extraordinarily well, and will continue to do so. And I think that the people of the 4th District don't want people in Des Moines or Washington, D.C., or Florida, or Wyoming, or anywhere else, or Utah, or telling us who our candidate in the 4th District ought to be. And I think the people are going to rear up on their hind legs and let the world know that here in pretty close order.
I hope so. The problem is with conservatives or traditional people, we all have jobs.
Yeah.
It's hard for us to get out in the streets or go down to the legislature and scream at people. But that the liberals certainly do that, and our legislators are growing a pair every now and then, but it takes they really want to make how the Republican Party is. Their mantra is lower taxes and less government, and that's what they want to focus on all the time. Some of these issues are tough sells, or they have to go on record.
Well, I think that, but I think we take a look at the state legislature. We can go to Des Moines and look at that. But my experience in the 18 months I was in D.C. was that I found the Congress of the United States as a body was totally feckless, lacking a moral center, and lacking any essence or attempt at showing any courage in doing what is best for the country. Everything is focused on special interests. The establishment rules the roost, make no mistake about it. And if here's a classic example. This is Burr guy from North Carolina, who is a Senate Republican, who is looking to subpoena Don Jr. to come in because of the Russia probe. You have got to be kidding me. Who did he not get the memo? Did he not see the Mueller report? I mean, good Lord, how does he come off doing that? I mean, this guy, he looks like a total, I don't know. I don't want to get too far off the ranch here, but it is just infuriating that we have gone to all this expense, all these issues. And here, for whatever reason, a Republican senator wants to make sure that we go out here and beat this dead horse even more. Now, it is beyond me. It makes no sense.
It is as well. Sam Clovis has been our guest today, and we plan on having Sam with us regularly during this time for as long as he's willing to do it. So, Sam, I appreciate your insight as always, and I look forward to talking with you next week.
Thanks, Mike. Really a joy to be on with you. Thanks so much.
Thank you, sir. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
When severe weather threatens, keep it here for the Severe Weather Advisor. Brought to you by Creative Signs and Graphics, Fort Dodge. For signs, decals, vehicle graphics, magnets, logos, customized documents, and more. If your business needs it, Creative Signs and Graphics can make it. And a stitch above the rest embroidery, Fort Dodge. Step out in style with quality brands, timely turnaround, and professional service. A stitch above the rest. Embroidery professionals worth finding. Remember, when severe weather threatens, stay with your friends on KVFD.
With battery power made by Steel, your tools are as charged up to work as you are. And during Steel Dealer Days, get $30 off the FSA 56 battery trimmer with the purchase of the BGA 56 battery blower set. Save on battery power made by Steel now during Dealer Days. Visit SteelDealers.com. Offer valid through 6/30/2019 at participating dealers while supplies last. Not available in all markets. See dealer for details.
The legendary B.J. Thomas returns to Wild Rose Casino and Resort Saturday, May 18th.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
Don't miss an intimate performance with BJ Thomas. Tickets are available now at the Iowa store inside the casino or online at wildroseresorts.com/Jefferson. BJ Thomas. Get your tickets now. Wild Rose Casino and Resort, Jefferson. You'd rather be here.
Nothing's worrying.
Sounds like you've got the crud. Cough, fever, sinus pressure, body aches. What should you take? Which over-the-counter medicine is best? You sure don't know, but the people at Daniel Pharmacy do. The pharmacists and technicians at Daniel Pharmacy are ready to help. They drop what they're doing, ask you what you're looking for, go down the aisle with you, and help you find the best medication for your symptoms. Daniel Pharmacy, caring for you and about you for over 50 years at 1114 Central Avenue, downtown Fort Dodge.
You're listening to KVFD in Fort Dodge, Iowa. It's 4 o'clock. Mayor Matt Bemrick is next.
This is Gary Rima, the voice of the UNI Panthers, and you can listen to exciting Panther sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400, KVFD.
Deal or no deal with China. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Trade talks resume at this hour in Washington, days after a setback that prompted President Trump to order new tariffs as the U.S. accuses China of backtracking on concessions.
They took, whether it's intellectual property theft, they took many, many parts of that deal and they renegotiated. You can't do that.
President Trump expressing some optimism, saying he got a beautiful letter from China's president last night. But for now, just 7 hours left before the new tariffs kick in on thousands of Chinese goods that could cost U.S. consumers more. That's keeping Wall Street nervous.
This is shaping up to be the worst week of the year so far for stocks. So many stocks rely on China for a large proportion of their sales. Caterpillar, Boeing, Apple, all down pretty significantly today. They rely on that country for 10 to 20% of their sales every year.
Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis, the Dow down 139 today. The acting U.S. defense chief will get a chance to keep the job. Fox's John Decker live at the White House.
The White House in a statement saying President Trump plans to nominate acting Defense Secretary Pat Shanahan to be his second Secretary of Defense. The former Boeing executive has been leading the Pentagon since January 1st, since the abrupt resignation of James Mattis. The announcement came 2 weeks after the Pentagon's Inspector General cleared Shanahan of allegations he had given preferential treatment to his former employer, one of the military's biggest contractors. Shanahan must now be confirmed by the full Senate. Lisa?
Thanks, John. Meantime, the U.S. Navy confirming the test of a long-range ballistic missile today from a submarine off the Florida coast. This follows an earlier missile test by the Air Force in California, just minutes after North Korea's latest launches, believed to be short-range missiles. U.S. defense officials say the timing is a coincidence. This is Fox News.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring is prime home buying season, so if you're thinking about buying a home, right now is the time to lock a low rate, which can save you money every month on your new mortgage. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Equal housing lender. Licensed in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
A Democratic presidential hopeful teaming up with a freshman member of Congress who has a big social media following to target what they call greed.
Senator Bernie Sanders and Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez rolling out this proposal on Facebook and Twitter today. The idea being capping credit card interest rates at 15%, arguing the credit card companies are making a fortune off consumers.
Now, how much do the banks borrow money at? They borrow money from the Fed at 2.5%. and then they charge people 18, 20, 25% interest.
This is not the first time Sanders and Ocasio-Cortez have teamed up, and there's no doubt Sanders is hoping this will help energize support for his presidential campaign, with Ocasio-Cortez a celebrity on the left.
Fox's Mike Emanuel on Capitol Hill. House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy.
I always believe in the free market. I look personally will compete, especially when you look within the internet, compete for my business at who's going to offer me the lowest rate and the best rate.
So he says he's not in favor of getting the government involved. Republicans also arguing the proposed cap could have unintended effects. Another private innovator in the U.S. makes plans for a moonshot.
Space transit company Blue Origin announces its plans to devise a rocket capable of reaching the moon to be able to work alongside the U.S. government's push to involve the private sector once again to travel there. But Blue Origin is owned by billionaire Jeff Bezos, owner of both Amazon and the Washington Post, and often a critic of President Trump's. Yet Blue Origin is in the midst of readying a spacecraft for tourism and is developing a commercial rocket.
Fox's Eben Brown. NASA has set a goal of returning U.S. astronauts to the moon by the year 2024. Again, at this hour, U.S.-China trade talks are set to resume in Washington. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The co-ed state qualifying district track meet scheduled for today at Dodger Stadium has been postponed to tomorrow, May 10th, with a 4 p.m. start time. Des Moines was under a community safety alert this morning, as Radio Hour's Matt Kelly reports.
Des Moines police issued the alert after a mountain lion was spotted well within the capital city limits in a residential area near Interstate 235 and 31st Street. There's a middle school within a block of that intersection, and an elementary school is just beyond. The big cat was captured on video prowling past a home's front steps and sniffing at a recycling bin. Police urge extreme caution, especially with children and pets. Radio Iowa, I'm Matt Kelly.
Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds has signed a measure into law that gives her greater control over the way judges are selected and weakening the influence of attorneys. Language making the change was inserted into a larger funding bill approved on the last day of the legislative session. Reynolds signed it Wednesday with no fanfare, announcing her approval in an email that also noted 4 other bills. She says she's proud to sign it to give all Iowans a greater voice in the process. The majority of the 17-member state judge nominating commission members will now be picked by the governor. She'll choose 9, while liars will choose 8. The commission nominates finalists for the Iowa Supreme Court and the Iowa Court of Appeals and submits them to the governor, who makes the final choice. Democrats accused Republicans of trying to stack the courts in their favor after losing cases involving abortion and same-sex marriage. Iowa's among at least 4 states where Republican lawmakers moved to lessen the role of attorneys on judicial nominating panels. Despite international trade tariffs and a series of other challenges, Iowa livestock producers are seeing hog prices rise in recent weeks, which comes as a welcome surprise to many. Lee Schultz, an ag economist with the Iowa State University Extension, explains the roller coastering of pork prices on the commodities market.
I think what was driving, lower prices in the early parts of 2019 was impacts of retaliatory tariffs and impacts on the trade that we expected. And then really through late March and April, we really seen the impact of ASF's situation in China.
That's African swine fever, which has reportedly spread to every region of China and several surrounding countries, dropping the hog population in China by nearly 40 million head compared to last year. Schultz says U.S. pork producers are also seeing the potential for significant growth in global protein demand.
Recently, I think it has been really the markets, the supply situation weighing on it a bit, as well as, now new news of, kind of delayed in the trade negotiation talks, I think have all been working on the market and why we've seen such volatility lately.
Now that we're well into spring and the warmer weather will soon bring us to summer grilling season, Schultz says we are entering a key period of demand for pork, which should keep prices higher.
Now we have really 3 big holidays in front of us with Mother's Day, Memorial Day, and Father's Day. And so while a lot of purchases have already been made for Mother's Day, we're looking still at several holidays in front of us, and demand is very strong.
Schultz says profitability levels are higher for the pork producer than what had been seen for the last few years, and he remains optimistic for the last remaining months of 2019 and into 2020. I'm Alex Benzgal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Cloudy this afternoon with a high of 50. Winds out of the north, 15 to 20 miles per hour. Overcast skies again tonight, 39. Mainly clear skies tomorrow. Highs level off around 62. Mid-60s Saturday and Sunday. Chance for scattered storms Saturday. Chance for scattered rain showers Sunday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 48.
Today, business happens here, and virtually anywhere. Because today, innovative companies are reinventing the way business happens, and they need people who can keep up. With the expertise and technology to get packages to over 150 million delivery points. So, who can help you deliver the future of commerce? The United States Postal Service. See why we deliver more e-commerce packages to homes than anyone at USPS.com/future.
Around here, life is a continuous circle. We have friend circles, business circles, great work, and occasionally circles under our eyes. At our best, we have a circle of caring people around us. That's the power of Mercy One, a healthcare support network 20,000 strong, personalizing your care by keeping you at the center of everything we do. Mercy One, your best life, our one purpose.
Ride the bus with the Dart and Midas Transit.
Midas is going your way. If you live in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt counties and want to go somewhere special, Midas will take you there. Need to get to the theater, the hair salon, the doctor, the grocery store? Midas will take you there. Just call 800 Bus Ride. Call now and Midas will take you there in Hamilton, Pocahontas, Calhoun, or Humboldt County. Midas, your connection to Jefferson Lines.
Our job here is getting you there. Ride the bus.
Michael Devine, the Doctor of Truth.
Does anyone have anything they'd like to confess?
That AM 1400 KVFD.
Crazy never takes a day off here, does it?
Divine Intervention at AM 1400 with Mayor Matt Bemrick.
Boss, man, top dog, big cheese, a head honcho.
Call now. 515-955-1400.
That's right. Mayor Matt Bemrick is in the studio. So you have a question or comment for Mayor Bemrick, it is 515-955-1400. A few things to talk about today. How you doing there, Matt, first of all?
I'm good.
All right. Okay.
How are you?
Well, I'm okay.
Been lollygagging around all week?
No, actually.
Why not?
I don't know. Just kind
You
of
actually been working hard?
I work at this job quite a bit because I like to. I'm at the stage of life where I don't care to work at something I don't want to work at or need to work at. So, so I work at this job quite a bit. But Mankey was in a little earlier in the week to talk about the Fort Dodge Noon Sertoma Pork Chop Dinner that's coming up Monday, May 27th at Veterans Memorial Park, serving from 4 to 7. Usually pretty good. Also, Carissa Harvey and Lydia Scher both going to be mommies again soon. As a matter of fact, Carissa is going to have twins, so she'll be pretty busy shortly. The FOD Walk, the 14th annual FOD Walk, is coming up June 11th at 4 o'clock, the girls told me. Please join us as we clean up the litter while sending the message that we take pride in our community and want it to be litter free. I think this is an important thing. You know, there's still that dirty Dodge thing sitting out there. And if people come to our town, and this is just before the first Market on Central, people come to our town, see trash in the streets or just general.
Well, they basically, if you came to our town in the last month, you drove around and saw garbage all over the place.
Yeah, we really
because that's that cleanup effort thing we do, or we curbside pick up all that junk. People were putting it out weeks before it's even supposed to go out.
Oh,
and it just makes the town look like crap. I mean, I kind of get if my Wednesday's coming up, I'm going to put it out on Sunday afternoon or something, or maybe Monday night or Tuesday night, of course. But man, there was people had that stuff out there for weeks.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It just looks like crap.
Yeah, and
it's disappointing.
I've been very disappointed in some of my fellow citizens lately for the lack of any sort of respect. I mean, the fireworks would be one example, and then this, and frankly, everybody that hears about our cleanup, I know.
You got all this garbage sitting all over the place,
right?
And people digging through it, throwing it around, and then nobody goes. And then the guys that have to pick it up, they're digging through there, finding a bumper chute or whatever.
Yeah,
and it's nuts.
It is. It's nuts, and it's uncalled for, and it's gross, and really that's on the citizens in these particular neighborhoods. Yeah, over on 4th Avenue North, there were people with couches and junk out for. I don't know,
Weeks.
And
there's a lot of stuff.
Then it rained.
I noticed, interesting enough, I spent quite a bit of time moving around town the last few weeks because different jobs we're doing, and I was looking at different road work and stuff that people were telling me about and issues. And driving around, seeing a lot of the stuff people had set out on their curb, there's a lot of stuff that could have just went in a garbage receptacle.
Oh, sure.
Just in your, somebody had like some couch pillows. Well, just throw them in a bag, put them in your garbage can.
Yeah.
You don't really need to wait for cleanup days to then just go throw them out on the curb. And I know some people are thinking, well, if I put them out there, somebody else might pick them up and at least they get recycled instead of in the landfill and stuff. I get that. It's just, the whole thing's bizarre to me sometimes. And, people want it. It was very apparent people wanted it when they tried to get rid of it. But I still I wonder if it's even, I don't know. It can't go on forever, in my opinion.
Well,
because it's chaotic.
I was going to advocate for the returning fall cleanup, but I suppose that's not.
I don't think I'd be a big fan of it.
We used to have 2 cleanups a year.
Now I know there is some, and I don't remember that. That has to be quite a while back. But there's these cities that have gotten rid of the curbside, and they do this like neighborhood scat day. So they call it scat day or whatever. I don't know. I think that's the nickname for it. But basically, like the city would bring in like roll-offs or bring in dump trucks, and they'd say, okay, we're meeting in this parking lot at this location on Saturday, and we'll take all your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you just bring it there and drop it, and then they haul it.
Mm-hmm.
And those seem to be fairly popular with some of the cities that got rid of the curbside, just set whatever you want out and we'll pick it up kind of thing. And it made people plan a little better. And then they're not setting it out on their curb and having it sit there for 2 weeks or 3 weeks at a time. But we'll see. Maybe we try doing some of that and still do curbside and see if that modifies people's behavior, or maybe less stuff ends up on the curb, making the cleanup days a little easier.
Well, that's what
I don't know. There's got to be a better solution than just once a year we just put all the crap that's in our houses on the curb.
Well, one solution would be to have the council take action if you have junk in your front yard 48 hours before your cleanup day.
And technically our rules are, if you put it out there too far in advance, we could go post your door and say, hey, you got to go pick all that stuff up, get it off the curb, and wait until it's proper time to put it out. But boy, I think our inspection guys, that's all they would have did for the last month, is drive around doing that. And they've got actual other work to be doing.
I understand.
Other inspection work. You'd have to hire somebody just to drive around and police that for the whole month of
we want to change behavior. We're talking about changing behavior. I'm trying to do it and keep the current system. You want to work towards getting rid of it altogether, and I don't want to do that.
I don't know if I want to get rid of it altogether, but I definitely think it needs to be modified. I learned very, very quickly when they tried to get rid of it. The council voted to get rid of it last time. The amount of calls, emails. I've had other issues where I get 5 or 6 calls, but that one was unique. Very quickly.
I really enjoyed the spectacle of the council people scattering.
You kind of really, you not only enjoyed it, you kind of incited some of it.
They scattered like chickens in a storm.
You might have been, you're the guy that came in with 2 gallons of diesel fuel saying, let me throw this on this fire.
Well, I really believe in spring cleanup. I'll tell you, I have relatives that come to Fort Dodge, friends that come to Fort Dodge around spring cleanup days. I explain what spring cleanup days is, and everybody says, wow, that's such a nice thing. I wish we had it in our town, be it Ames or Algona or Des Moines or what. I think it is a special thing for our town. I understand there are problems.
There's not a lot of towns that are doing it anymore.
No, there are not. I don't know if there are that many towns doing it 40, 50 years ago, as I recall.
I remember it even as a little kid.
Oh yeah,
I don't ever remember 2 of them, but when you're a little kid, you don't really pay attention.
I'm not talking about Fort Dodge. Fort Dodge has had it as long as I've lived here.
As long as I remember.
But other
as
towns,
a little kid, I remember it.
But other towns in the area and around the state, I don't recall it ever. It was never in Algona when I was a kid, and I've lived at other places. I lived down in Ames a short period of time. They didn't have it. It's something we can be proud of, but obviously something, because our people seem to have lost their character. We need to do something about it because they get it in the idea, well, the city's got to pick it up because it's free, and I'll just throw crap out here because I have no responsibility.
And I mean, and a lot of it is just that it's crap. And then, not to the fault of some of the homeowners that put it out there in a neat and organized manner, but then the people that go to pick it or pick through it just throw it everywhere.
Oh, they do.
And they kind of act like, well, I don't really care that I'm making a mess out of
this
person's front yard or the street. Or
because there is no consequence.
There's no consequence to it. Yeah.
And to see some of the pickups running around town with old beds in the pickup stacked up with junk. I don't know why they were picking these things up, but they were.
I don't know.
I don't know. Get every time I saw one of those.
I don't know how many years we've told people not to put TVs out. And every year I drive around, and for like a week or 2 weeks after junk days is over, there's 2 or 3 TVs just sitting in different places. It's like, how many years do we got to tell you don't put a TV out there because we're not picking up the TV? I don't know.
Every time I saw one of those guys driving around in a junk truck, I thought to myself, get a job. You're out here all day picking up scrap metal. I suppose you want to sell somewhere. Is it really going to bring that much money to your pocket?
You talk to the guys that actually do clean up for the city workers, they hate it. It sucks. I mean, especially like this week, it was miserable out there Wednesday. I mean, it poured rain all morning. It was cold,
saw them out
windy.
There. Yeah.
I mean, that's a thankless job. And then not only that, they get people that are harassing them and barking at them because they didn't pick this up or that up. And,
really?
And then they're like, hey, we can't pick that up because, it's construction debris. And it says right on the sheet, we don't pick up construction materials. Or why didn't you take this? Well, that's an appliance. We don't take appliances. It's just, it's interesting, but I don't know.
Interesting.
And I don't have the answer. I'm not going to pretend I have this magic way of fixing it all because I don't know what it is. But I definitely don't think the way it goes right now is sustainable, nor is it right.
Well,
it needs to change some. It needs to modify to the betterment of the people that need to use the service and to the workers that are doing it. And at the same time, trying to make our community not look like a junkyard for a month.
All right. Well, there's a number of ways we can go about it. But I think there's very little enthusiasm, as you've already alluded to get rid of it completely.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go to the phones here. AM 1400, KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. You're on the air with Mayor Bemrick.
Well, since you got all your hard-working city guys doing nothing, to get a pass down there on 5th Avenue South in that one lane again, man, that pothole that's in front of Quick Star there, or Quick, whatever it is, that thing's just about enough to swallow a car.
So
it's in the right wheel track.
Right wheel track on 5th South, right there by like Quick Star across from Baumgars.
Yeah, probably a car length from the corner.
Okay. I'll report it to him.
You can't miss it. It's big. It's a 2x3 piece of concrete that's sunk way down. There's a bunch of other potholes, but that one there is just really getting bad.
Hey, I got a suggestion for you. Drive down 1st Avenue North until you get to 8th Street, then head north toward Corpus Christi Church. There's a 2-block stretch of street there that looks like it's been shelled. It's just terrible.
It's pretty tough.
It's a tough one.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you
there's a couple other places in town that are getting that way too. So, but that one there just has a lot of traffic through it. I just watched some lady bounce off the curb.
Well, our guys aren't just sitting around though. In all fairness, they don't just sit around all day. They are very busy guys. They're out doing a lot of work.
Done with the cleanup, you could send them on the pothole.
And you know what? Interesting enough, I got a text right after you made that comment from a city guy that says we know about it and we're working on a way to fix it.
Oh, good.
So,
yeah, it needs a little help. It's pretty bad.
Don't forget to thank him when you see him out there fixing it.
Right.
All right.
Hey, man, they're just doing what we tell them to do. It's not their fault.
Hey, thanks for your call. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Yeah, if you have a question or comment from the mayor, 515-955-1400. We would be remiss if we didn't mention it's Greg Bemrick's birthday today.
It is Greg Bemrick's birthday.
How old's your dad?
64.
64. Youngster. Young. You want to sing happy birthday to him?
No.
I'll sing it with you.
I don't think he's listening.
No, he isn't, but I bet your mom is.
I'm pretty confident my mom is. So, and her birthday was just a couple weeks ago, and she was in Paris.
Is that right?
Yeah.
All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air.
Hey, as much as I'd like to hear the world's greatest Cardinals fan sing "Happy Birthday," I would rather just call and say, "Hey, tell all the city guys thanks for the hard work."
I appreciate that. They are hardworking
sure do
guys.
appreciate. I know I do. We've been here for almost 30 years, and the cleanup days, there's nobody that works harder than the city crews cleaning that stuff up and getting around and try to make sure everybody's taken care of. So I just wanted to say thanks for them to do that.
I appreciate that, and I'll pass that along to them. And I know a lot of those guys are driving around in trucks right now, moving around town, and they probably heard that, and I'm sure they thank you.
I hope so. We'd love to see that continue, and we really appreciate it.
They take a lot of beatings for things that essentially aren't their fault. I mean, they can't fix it if it doesn't get reported. They can't fix it unless we give them the money and the resources to do it. A lot of times they want to do the right thing, but they have a mission and they're not directing that mission. The mission's coming from above them. So, cut them a little bit of slack. If you want to bark at somebody for something not getting fixed, the right people is people like me, council members in that upper echelon of management. We're the ones guiding the ship. They're just down there working their butt off trying to get things done. So, a lot of times that gets lost in translation a little bit, and people forget that, hey man, they're the worker, they're the ones getting it done. They need the accolades and the thank yous, but at the same time, when the negativity comes around, that's really something that's more for me or more for those other elected leaders, that we got to give them the tools, the resources, and the ability to get things done.
I appreciate that. And I'll tell you that again, we've been here for this summer will be 30 years, and this is the best it's ever been. So thank you.
You bet.
All right. Thank you for your call.
Yep. You bet.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice for Dodge. Don't get many of them. Don't get many of them. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. Sweep. Last weekend was just terrific. You watched, of course.
Yeah, I watched it. It was horrible. What do you mean terrific? The Cubs swept
the Cards. Just walked right over.
Now we're 1.5 games back.
That's
we're not
right.
playing it's like we just changed the way we were playing baseball the second we started playing it.
That is.
We were on kind of a burn.
A big one.
And then all of a sudden, poop, down we went.
I was listening to Bob Costas and another guy on KMOX radio in St. Louis today. That's the big sports station.
Yeah.
That's where Costas got his start.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Right out of college.